By 2032, governments simply stopped talking about the signal. No press conferences, no explanations. While the official channels went dark, the shortwave radio communities that had tracked the broadcast for years suddenly faded into static. At the same time, a cluster of bizarre psychiatric symptoms began appearing across the Northern Hemisphere. Patients from Norway to Alaska were reporting identical experiences: sleepwalking, compulsive writing, and severe nosebleeds. Despite having no contact with one another, every patient shared a single connection. They had all been exposed to bursts of radio interference at exactly 3:17 a.m. The government silence wasn't a sign that the threat had passed. It was the incubation period of a synchronized outbreak. Dr. Naomi Wren, a neurologist specializing in how repeated sounds alter brain behavior, began reviewing recordings of that 3:17 a.m. static to find a pattern. When Wren slowed the signal down, she found it wasn't random noise. Hundreds of voices layered beneath the static, whispering in rhythmic repetition. The signal delivered constant instructions. It functioned as a language virus, using repetitions to build new pathways in the brain. The broadcast didn't exist to communicate a message. It was a tool designed to rewire the listener, preparing the human mind for an event that had not yet arrived. On March 11, 2032, the preparation ended. At 3:17 a.m., every radio in a small Greenland fishing village turned on simultaneously. All 214 residents walked barefoot into the snow, standing in the dark to listen to a 31-word transmission. One man, a retired fisherman named Emil Sorensen, spoke the final 30-second word that was missing from the broadcast. The moment he spoke, the signal cut out. At 3:18, the ice beneath the village split into perfect circles. Fast-moving, pale shapes began crawling out from the gaps, pushing upward from the deep. Military teams arrived 14 hours later to find the village empty. There were no bodies, only clothes frozen in the snow, and a phrase carved into the ice in dozens of languages: "We are inside now." The cognitive infection had achieved its goal. By completing the sentence, the villagers' minds had triggered the physical opening of the ice. Classified files revealed that the original signal from Antarctica was just the center of a much larger web. There were 12 ancient towers in total, buried under the ice of Alaska, Siberia, and the Himalayas. Each had been broadcasting, waiting for enough minds to complete their sequences. The incident in Greenland was only the first of 12 doors to open. Wren led an expedition into the fresh tunnels beneath the village. In a deep cavern, they found Emil. His skin was white, his hair was gone, and his mouth moved constantly, cycling through dozens of different voices at once. Emil told the team, while the first ones learned fear and the second ones learned language, humanity would be used to teach them memory. He was no longer an individual. He was a biological receiver, processing the data needed to facilitate the next breach. After Emil was killed, the infection immediately adapted. The team's linguist began bleeding from her ears, even though she hadn't heard a single word of the lethal broadcast. Wren realized the symbols carved into the stone were actually sound frozen into a visual shape. These symbols allowed the virus to spread through sight alone, bypassing the need for a radio signal. By June, 3 more openings occurred in Siberia, Alaska, and Iceland. The entities began using the voices of dead family members to communicate, causing widespread psychological collapse as they moved through the population. The infection had mutated to exist within human consciousness itself. Banning radio frequencies was useless against a pathogen that people were now hearing in the sound of wind and running water. Wren's final discovery came from a set of lost recordings. They revealed that the entities beneath the ice were not an invading force from another world. They were the original inhabitants of Earth, returning from an eons-long hibernation. In the context of the planet's history, humanity was a temporary occupant. Naomi Wren released one final 10-second audio clip, warning the public to run if they heard someone they knew begin speaking at 3:17 a.m. Do not repeat unfamiliar words in dreams.
11 sentences remain.